Are you ready for your window shoppers to become paying customers? Ecwid e-commerce is here to make that happen. We can help you automatically show the exact product visitors saw but didn't purchase on your site wherever they go on Facebook and Instagram using this magic called dynamic Facebook retargeting. To show these ads to your prospects today, sign up in your Ecwid control panel in the marketing section and look for the Facebook remarketing app. This is fully integrated into Ecwid and Facebook and so simple and effective you'll wonder why you hadn't done this sooner. To help you decide, if you sign up now and spend $50 by February 15th, you'll receive a free $100 advertising credit from our friends at Facebook. Okay, back to the show.
This is the Ecwid E-Commerce Show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
What's going on, Richard? It's Friday.
It's the day again. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Exciting day, as always.
Podcast Friday. And today we get to talk with an old friend and hopefully a new friend. It's actually great to see people that we've known for many years as they've built their stores and their journey and even move on to new things. So,
oh, yeah. And this guy's one of the OG. I mean, we'll say one of their names is Robbie Stanley, and he's with Henson Wu, and they're from Feedback Wiz. And Robbie we've known for a long time. And when I say OG, I mean, do you remember that he started selling Palm Pilot parts?
What's a Palm Pilot?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. This guy's been around this for a long time.
I did have one,
and he's stuck with it. Right. So now he's the just bed of knowledge. So this is going to be a good one. If anything, we're going to have to pare him back to make sure we don't go over our heads and everybody else's heads.
Awesome. All right, guys, let's bring them on. We got Henson Wu and Robbie Stanley. How's it going, guys?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Excellent.
Hey, how you guys doing? Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys are with Feedback Wiz. Why don't we give, actually, Henson, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about why you started Feedback Wiz?
So Feedback Wiz is a software for Amazon sellers, and it's basically an email automation tool to help sellers get more product reviews and manage their product reviews. How I started this business was that, I used to sell on eBay and Amazon, and I did that for, 10, 12 years. And mostly eBay in the beginning. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I started selling on Amazon through private label. My family has a clothing manufacturer, wholesale, and we decided to try out Amazon to launch private labels. And that's kind of how we started, or how I started learning, how to sell on Amazon. And during that time, there's a lot of challenges managing products, trying to get more reviews, how to get products at top. There's just so many things you have to do when you sell on Amazon. And sometimes you just have to use some software to, help you save your time. And at that time, I was working full time at a hardware company. So my background is actually hardware engineering. And my good friend Aaron, who's our co-founder and CTO here, he's a software engineer, and we partnered up together and started developing some software for my store specifically. And through there, we saw that we were able to build a pretty nice product. And as we kept developing it, we saw that there's a huge opportunity here. And after 6-7 months, we decided to quit our jobs and go full time with Feedback Wiz, and we launched. It's been about a little over a year, so we launched in Q4 of last year, and we've done tremendously well. Our software has become extremely popular. We have 8-figure, 7-figure companies, major corporations, all using our software right now to help them boost their brand on Amazon. So yeah, that's kind of our background.
Awesome. So you're coming up on the 1-year anniversary, or maybe just had that. So it's great entrepreneurial story. So I'm hoping you can help everybody that's listening with their own entrepreneurial journey here. So you guys are in Amazon all day. Not all of our merchants are Amazon always, right? So maybe we can help people out with what are the kind of steps 1, 2, 3, 4 with getting going on Amazon? What is
and maybe even just a little bit before, why would they want to get on Amazon, right? They have their own e-commerce store now, and we always hear the other side of the coin. Hey, you're on Amazon, and they're taking fees, and there's a lot of people buying stuff there, but you could see why you would want to have your own store. But the exact opposite in this case, they have their own store. Why would they want to do Amazon? And then we'll dive in a little bit deeper.
Hey, Rich. So this is Rob, and hi, Jesse. Thanks for the introduction. So Rob, let me go back on this a little bit, because coming from the e-commerce world, I can probably give some people listening a little different perspective. I ran a website that basically sold parts for, like they said, for Palm Pilots, which eventually sold parts for iPhones. And I was strictly just e-commerce, just selling through my e-commerce. Had a little bit of dabbling into the eBay world quite a few years back. And then, of course, as things grew, I was able to jump more into the eBay world and then into the Amazon world. And what kind of led me there, I was getting great sales through our own website. So I can definitely relate to people out there that are maybe doing great with their website and their products are doing just fine. And they're sitting there going, well, heck, why do I sell on eBay or why do I sell on Amazon with all these fees and everything? You got to look at some of the background on why these companies are there and why people keep going to it. For instance, if I'm buying something, or even my wife, the first place she goes is Amazon to look for it. So there's some stats out there talking about how 60% of the United States, and it used to be they went to Google and did a Google search to look up a product. Now 60% of the United States is going right to Amazon and typing in what they're looking for when it comes to e-commerce shopping. So to me, seeing this a few years back, or even a little bit longer, I jumped on that eBay platform when people started kind of switching from looking on Google, looking on eBay. Now they're instead of looking on Google or eBay, now they're going straight to Amazon. So my thought was, okay, yeah, the percentage and the fees are there. I just got to figure out how can I factor those in. Can I maybe increase my price a little bit, or become a good seller on there that will increase my sales, which will offset the fees if I'm moving enough product. So that was part of the reason I jumped onto Amazon, was because you need that kind of other platform where people are going, because you could spend a ton of money on the internet with Google AdWords and things like that to drive people to your e-com site, but you got to also look at where are the people going to buy. And prior to Amazon, people were going to eBay, and I'm not saying they still aren't, but the majority of people now are going to Amazon. Yep. So that's, there's a couple ways to offset some of that fee. Is increasing your sales. Obviously, that'll allow you to go buy more product. Usually it'll allow you to, decrease your cost on stuff while you're bringing it in. And then when you can price point it right over on Amazon, that you can still make pretty decent margins. Yeah, you might give up a little bit, but you'll get that volume that'll make it up. Yeah.
But basically you're saying that's where people are going, so you better be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I won't go too deep on this, but I would imagine having a brand that not everybody else is selling would be one of the ways that you could make that margin back up too, right? You're not selling the same thing as everybody else and driving the price down, trying to be the lowest price to make sales, but you actually have some sort of brand of a lot of these guys might not actually have that yet, but we have a few, people have made their own products and done their own things. So for sure. Interesting.
Actually, Robbie, there was one point you made there that I was curious about, because you mentioned you might sell your products higher on Amazon than you do on your own e-commerce site. Is that what you currently do?
Yeah. So, I actually sold my business just recently. So my e-commerce business sold. So I'm actually stepped out of that role and into the marketing role with Ecwid. But so prior to that, when I did currently have it, there was times we would have to up it a little bit on eBay, our price, or up it a little bit on Amazon to offset some of those fees. Yep. So realistically wise, we were making better margins on our website, direct sales, sure, versus Amazon, eBay, which, everybody's probably seen that. But you got to really factor in, when you're getting those direct sales, what is your overhead? If you're paying for Google AdWords, or let's say you're doing YouTube video marketing, you got to factor in there's fees related to that. So really, you might look at it and go, oh, wow, I make a lot more when I sell something through my website. But you got to look at the other aspects of what it costs to get that person there. Like, did you do a video? Did you turn around and do, let's say, marketing on Facebook or something, and you paid money? That factors into pushing those people directly to your website, which actually means your margins weren't as big as you thought. Yeah. So whereas over on Amazon, you can sell things there where you have a kind of a flat, I don't want to say flat fee, but you know what the fees are going to be.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I was glad you mentioned that, because there's costs on both sides. I personally sell some stuff on Amazon, and I sell it on a higher price on Amazon than I do on my own site. And I was wondering am I the only one, or does Amazon know that I'm doing that, or do they even care? So I'm glad to hear other people are doing that. It wasn't just me.
Right. I want to jump in real quick and comment on Robbie, what he said. So the biggest advantage on selling Amazon really is you're going to get that traffic versus your website. I mean, you just can do a quick comparison. Like, if you can get your product to the first page on Amazon with the right keywords, you're going to instantly be making millions of dollars, because everyone is going to be buying your product. Because Amazon, the game is really, can you get your product to page 1, like the first 3 searches, and can you get a 4-star or better review rating? If you get that, it's pretty much like, as a buyer, like, everyone's just going to automatically just buy the product without even looking at the price or doing much research, because the trust is there, right? Versus you selling on your website, people have to come here and look at your website. They don't know your name, right? There's a little bit of uncertainty. So trust and uncertainty.
Yeah,
so
trust.
That's the big advantage of why you want to get your products on Amazon.
Yeah, everybody trust Amazon.
Yeah, for sure. You can return it. You know that you're not going to get ripped off.
Exactly.
I get it. So yeah, maybe you don't make quite as much money, but once you get to that first page, the money just rolls in magically, of course, right? You just sit back and have your Mai Tais.
Let me know when that happens.
Yeah.
If it was only that easy.
Yeah, it never quite is. So guys, how do we get? Well, all right, we'll hold. How do we get to page 1? But how do we just get on Amazon? What is the basics for a new merchant? Maybe like Ecwid merchants that might have products, already selling some stuff. How do they get on Amazon? What's the process?
Yeah, so it really depends on what kind of product you sell, because Amazon is actually pretty strict with a lot of products that are being sold. So it depends on, like, if you're selling clothes, if you're selling baby product, if you're selling, let's say, camping gear, or, there's different types of products that you can sell on Amazon, and they all have different categories and different rules. So the first thing you want to do is, you want to do some research on the product that you want to sell, and make sure that it's something that Amazon will let you do. And if there's for example, if you're trying to sell like knives or something like that, that's considered like a hazardous or a hazmat category, right? Those kind of things become, it's just more difficult to sell. So you might want to try to sell something more towards like maybe like baby products, right? But even with baby products, there's restrictions on, the product itself. Is the material hazardous, right? If you're selling toys, there's like battery restrictions. If you're selling clothes, they might say, hey, you need to have a website. So really, the beginning to get in Amazon is really do the research first, right? And then make sure that the product you're selling is a quality product, because once you get your product to the top first page, there's a lot of different strategies to get it to the top. The idea is you want to be able to build that organic traffic, meaning that the real customers that come and buy your product later on, they want to be satisfied with that product. So if you're selling some cheap, knockoff from China or something, that might break after like a couple months, those kind of products are not going to sustain, and you're going to end up, making some money in the beginning, but in the long run, you'll probably lose. So make sure that the product you're trying to get there is something really good, and do a lot of research. Best advice really is you don't need to have a brand or start off with a brand right away. You can just go to like Walmart or Target and just buy any product that you think might sell well on Amazon. And then you can just post it on Amazon, right? You can go through the system, set up your account. They have this thing called FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, which is where Amazon takes care of your product. So you ship it to Amazon, and Amazon does all the customer service. They do all the shipping for you. So their platform is pretty complicated, not complicated, but there's a lot of different things going on. So you really need to get familiar with how the whole process works. And once you get the idea of how to sell on Amazon, then you can start looking into, hey, I have a private label brand that I want to launch. Then you start doing other things like, getting good pictures, good descriptions, just doing all the different tricks to pretty much help build your product at the top. And one of the things, best things I usually like to do if I'm selling something, I like to buy my competitor's product, right? So I'll buy their product, get it in the mail, check it out, right? See what the product looks like, what kind of packaging they're using, look at what kind of email sequence they're using to get reviews, right?
Titles,
description, pictures. You can basically look at some of the top products on Amazon and then just build your brand based on how they're doing it. So that's probably the best way for someone new to get started.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's good advice for a lot of people. They're thinking, all right, I was able to sell some stuff online. I'll just port this over to Amazon. It'll be a piece of cake. And I think I have ran into some trouble going on to Amazon the first time, and it turns out it's a little bit harder than just setting up a store, in my opinion. There's a lot of things to follow. There's you do need a UPC as well. That held me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on that. So a couple of things too, just to back up slightly on that. So I would recommend that they find one product that they have some pretty decent margin on. Go in there, get the store set up, and kind of go through the process of getting a right title and description. And just start with one product and see how it does. Don't take your entire catalog and throw it on there. Maybe start with half a dozen or something. Just a couple to get going, so you get the process, understand it, and you have to have UPC codes. So if people aren't familiar with UPC codes, Google it. There's many ways to get UPC codes, but you have to have UPC codes. Now, if people don't know what a UPC code is, again, please Google it. It'll give you a full description on what a UPC code is. You're going to need it. It kind of basically identifies your product as being yours and will allow Amazon to basically say that this is your product. So you're definitely going to need that.
Yeah, and I mean that held me up. A lot of people don't necessarily have a UPC if you made your own product in your garage, and there's a little trick there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this legally here, but you can buy UPCs on eBay. So
you said it, not me, Jesse.
Yeah. That's a birdie told me that you could do that, but you're not. You will not find that on Amazon's website that you should do that. So, hint, hint.
Yeah.
And
then, I think just to touch on what Henson said, something that's slightly different. If people are selling on eBay right now and haven't started selling on Amazon, they are a slight bit different. So don't think that, if you take your information on eBay or even on your store, your title and your description, it's not going to always necessarily translate over to the Amazon platform. So, and also be careful, we're starting to see a lot of this happening on eBay, for instance, is a lot of the quality. The quality seems to be going down, and I think that's causing some problems, whereas on Amazon, the quality gets kind of, it gets weeded out, so to speak. So people selling lower quality items on Amazon start getting weeded out pretty quickly. Just think about it from a buyer point of view. If you go to Amazon or even eBay, or even somebody's website, there's people now that have reviews, their own reviews or customer feedback about the product on their own website. You're there to read about how good is this product? What am I going to get for my money? And you're going to do that same thing on Amazon. You're going to go in there. You're going to say, I want to see, this particular item. I want to see ones that only have 3 stars or higher. And then you're going to read the product reviews and see what issues that people had. Now, if the product's not good quality, it's going to show up really quickly and the star rating is going to be really low. So the advice I'd give is make sure you have good quality product. Go in there, just do a few products as a trial run. Make sure you got good titles and descriptions, good photos, and just kind of give it a test run before you kind of ramp up on there. And then, the other part is make sure that you are communicating with your customers. So that's also another big key that, people need to do on Amazon, just like you do on your website. If somebody has a question and they email you, you want to be responding to that.
So of course you want to communicate with your customers, but when you sell on Amazon, you don't get the email. So how do you go about communicating with them?
Yeah, with Amazon, they're pretty strict with this entire marketing communications. They keep updating their seller terms of service. So you can't really market through them through email. The emails are masked, so everyone gets a masked at Amazon.com email address. The only thing you can really do is to ask them for product reviews or feedback, right? And you can also, if they have a product issue or some customer service issue, you can communicate with them about that. But you can't like exchange email addresses or put phone numbers, or you can't even link to your own website outside Amazon, because Amazon really wants to protect their their buyer database. So these are the unfortunate things when you sell on Amazon, is that you just don't have as much flexibility to market to these customers as if you would if you had your own website.
Sure.
But hey, Jesse, so here's a tip though.
Yeah, I want the trick here. I know there's no email. I want the hack. How do we?
Yeah. So
well, you do have their address.
Couple tips. So what you want to do is when you set up your Amazon account, make sure it matches your brand name, right? And hopefully your brand name matches your website or your e-com site, right?
Yep.
So keep it consistent. I don't know if Jesse let me say this, but before I sold my company Direct Fix, we made sure we had, the Twitter account with Direct Fix, we had the YouTube account with Direct Fix. Everywhere I created an account matched.
Yep.
So that way, if somebody on Amazon turns around and they look at your username, which they will see, or even when you go and put in your title, as long as you have a trademark on your name, you can put your trademark name in the title. And that actually helps quite a bit because now it protects your product. But people can look that up on the internet, right? If you go and look up Direct Fix, probably first thing that's going to come up is going to be my old website that I sold and everything that branded around it. So there is a little trick there. Now, you can't tell them to go contact you through there, but if they look it up, that's their own, they're allowed to do that. They're
Sure.
allowed to go search your name. So maybe that's a little tip there, is use your brand name or your company brand name and keep it consistent.
Yeah, makes sense.
And what about, I'm sure it's in the terms of service somewhere, but I'm not looking at it right now. What about you have their address and good old fashioned thank you card or something? Do they say you can't direct them back to your website, or you could still do your little hack? It's got the same name. You're just saying thank you, and they might want to look you up. Like, have you ever done anything with that?
Usually sellers don't. So what sellers usually do is they'll have a product insert. So when they do like Fulfilled by Amazon, they'll make like a little card and they'll package it inside their product. And inside that product, that's where you could put like a thank you note, and then you could put let's say your company logo. But and then sometimes what it is if you're offering some kind of like manufacturer warranty, then there might be a reason for them to actually go to your website because they need to get that warranty. So you can put that kind of material inside your product insert. You just can't write anything like, oh, please leave us a positive feedback, or please leave us a positive review.
Or go to our website.
Or go to our website.
Yeah.
But you can definitely put that stuff in there because it's part of your product and it's part of your brand. So those are usually what sellers do. Now, in terms of sending them a postcard afterwards, I don't know how effective that is. I think most sellers usually don't do that. They usually just send emails. So emails are usually more effective than snail mail. So,
yeah, I was just more thinking, since you have that address but you don't have their email address, right? Just more of a question.
Yeah,
and I'm sure too, some people probably take advantage if it's a product that has certain feature sets that's maybe more complicated than some others, that directing them to here's a video on how to use it, or here's how to set it up, or something might be kind of useful too.
absolutely. So a lot of sellers, what they do is as soon as the order ships out, they'll have an automated message sent out to the buyer. And what it'll have in there is a link to, let's say, product tips. It could be like a PDF file. It could be a link on how to use the product, a video link. And then usually they'll put like a contact us button. So let's say it says, when you receive your product, if something's wrong, please contact us, right? And that way, what you're basically doing is you're trying to prevent them from leaving you a negative review or negative feedback. Just kind of being proactive and letting them know that, our company's here. If you have any problems, let us know right away.
And now, Henson, you mentioned send them a message. So let me dig into that a little bit more. So we don't have their email, but you can send them messages. So how does that work? This is through the Amazon backend?
Yeah, so inside Amazon Seller Central, there's a messaging platform, and this is kind of like where you send emails and messages. So emails and messages are the same. This is where you can communicate with your customer, but all the communication that you do is being tracked and logged by Amazon. So let's say you're using a third-party software like FeedbackWiz to send out emails. That email has to go through Amazon first, and then it reaches the buyer. So, if you try to put anything like funny in there or try to like market to them, Amazon does have a record, and if they wanted to come down and investigate you or shut you down, they can see everything. So their communication platform is just tied to their system, and the only way around it, there's no way around it. You have to talk through their platform, and you can't see the real email address of the buyer.
Sure.
And the buyer can't see the seller's real email address either.
Yeah. No, I think that's important for people that haven't sold on Amazon to realize that, yes, there is a messaging, but Amazon owns it, so you can't put your URL in there. You have to be careful because it is monitored, by a robot probably, but it is monitored. But it seems like maybe that's the hack there. Like, how do you use that messaging platform to get what you need, right? Like you guys it's FeedbackWiz here, so I'm assuming there's a way to use that to try to encourage the behavior you want without being, breaking the rules.
Exactly. Yeah. So the idea is really to, draft or craft a very personalized message to the buyer, and your buyer is your audience. So you have to kind of think outside the box a little bit and who's your audience, right? If you're selling a baby product, your audience could be, mothers or women, right? So your message might be more catered toward them, right? Maybe you want to put a picture of a baby or a child or something. So something that will grab their attention right away, because when they open the email, you only have a few seconds to get their attention. And most sellers just send these, globs of text, right? And, people these days don't have time. They don't like reading it. But if you break up your email a little bit, maybe put a little funny picture in there, put something more personalized, something that captures their attention, then they're more engaged to read your email. And then, you could put links in there to ask them to leave you a product review. And, the whole game on Amazon is to get the most product reviews and the most positive product reviews, right? Yeah. So if you can set up an automated email sequence to send that out at a specific time, let's say, 5 days after the product delivered, or, 1 day after it's shipped. Depends on your product, of course. If you're selling like a cell phone case, they could probably slap it on, review it right away. But let's say you're selling vitamin supplements, there's no reason to ask them to leave a review after 2 days. You're not going to know if it's good or not. So you might want to wait 30 days, right?
Sure.
Now, if you're selling thousands and thousands of orders or different products, Amazon's Seller Central messaging system only allows you to manually send out emails. There's no way to say, hey, I want to send out, all these emails for these orders. I want to have a different template sent out for these products. And that's where our company comes in to help you guys, set those kind of things up so you can maximize your, your communication with your buyers and get as much product reviews as possible.
Got it. So that's awesome. Now, if you were selling 1 or 2 products a week, you could manually type in these emails, cut and paste, and you could probably get some good feedback. But once you start getting to, even 25 of those per week, it's going to be nearly impossible to handle. So, love the automation on that. Now, how about like when people are, all right, let's say let's say it's the cell phone case, right? So you sell a cell phone case, you want to send them an email after, a couple days. What would that email say, right? Like how do you encourage them to get a review without begging and breaking the rules with Amazon?
Yeah, so you just have to be a little creative. Of course, you probably want to do a little thank you in the beginning. You want to put in the picture of the cell phone case so they know what they're reviewing, first of all. So that's very important. With the manual emails through Amazon, you can't only type text. You can't put pictures. You can't put links. You can't do any type of formatting. But Amazon does allow the third parties to integrate with their system. So now you can actually use like HTML emails. So let's say, I'm sure everyone gets tons of marketing emails in their email box, right? Different pictures, different links. Based on, what we've seen, the best strategy really is to keep things short and simple, right? Get to the point. Don't try to, type too much text. People just don't have time these days to read. So just get to the point. Throw a couple of pictures in there. Our system can actually let you do like animated GIFs. So I don't know if you guys know the website like jiffy.com, where you can type in like keywords like thank you, and there'll be a picture of like Dwight from The Office or something, something funny like that, where you can use pictures as words rather than just typing the text, right? So you can kind of break it down a little bit and just make it really personal, right? And then you can create like nice looking HTML buttons, right? So it can have like leave a review, right? It could be red or blue or whatever color you want. That way it's right in their face. They know what you want. If they feel like, hey, I'm willing to leave a review, they just click on it. It'll take them directly to the page. They can leave a review. Just make it as simple as possible for the buyer to, because in the end, really, it's their time, right? They have to spend the extra time to do you a favor. And if you're not doing them a favor by making it easy for them, they're just going to move on. So
I assume you cannot say, leave me a review and I'll send you $5, right? Like that.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. So there's an Amazon Terms of Service page, which they update actually quite frequently these days. There's a lot of rules, things you can't say. And one of the most important things is try not to use the word positive inside your email template, because they specifically say don't ever write, please leave me a positive review. But you can say, please leave me a product review, or please leave me an unbiased product review. Like, that's fine. Just don't use, please leave me a product review. The second you write that, their
so that's
system's going to
flagged.
flag you.
I get it. There's a robot that says, all right, positive, flag this one, cancel, done. You're out of luck. Yeah.
So Jesse, we actually have, like, on our platform, we have built-in templates that we are always adjusting depending on the terms of service with Amazon, meaning their rules.
Okay.
So, you can always use our standard ones. You can make them fancier. You can make them not. We have one seller that that uses our platform, and he literally in his email, it says, leave me a product review, click on the kitten. And he's got a little picture of the kitten, and it says, I dare you. And you know how many times he gets people to click on the kitten, which the kitten is just a link to go leave a review, on Amazon. So, little things like that. So when you were saying, just to back up slightly, Jesse, you were saying like some people only maybe sell a couple items a day, let's say. Those are still customers that may want to take a look at our software. Anytime you can automate something for a small fee per month and not have to worry about it, it goes out. You can set up an email that says, hey, thanks for buying my item. Within a couple days of them receiving it, we track the tracking on Amazon when the package is delivered. And boom, within 48 hours, if you have it set this way, it can kick another email asking for a product review. Or again, like Henson said, depending on the product you're selling. So yeah, could you do these things manually? Yeah, I bought an item on there on Amazon a week ago, and I got it in. A couple days later, I get this email from the seller basically saying, hey, would you leave me a product review? Didn't even know what the product was. I bought like 7 items that week.
Yeah.
It had no title, had no picture. I didn't even know what I was leaving a review about or who was contacting me.
Yeah.
So, just basic little things like that can make a difference of people clicking on it or not. Like if it wasn't for the fact that I clicked on it and found out what the product was, I probably would have deleted that out of my email box. So anything you can do to kind of just give it a little more spice and spice it up a little bit and make it fun too. The more fun you make it, the more chance you have of somebody clicking on it and going, oh, that was cute. I'll click on it.
Yeah.
So,
makes perfect sense. The automation makes sense, and also the ability to send an HTML email where, you mentioned a kitten, right?
Yeah.
This is the internet. There's cats always
and
work.
You don't need to know HTML, by the way. We do have a lot of you drag and drop type stuff in our email system. So don't get, if anybody out there is listening and they're kind of like, oh, HTML, I don't know a thing about HTML, or I know very little. That's okay. We got drag and drop too. You drag it in, the way it looks, is the way it'll send. In fact, there's even a secondary window that'll be on the right-hand side that'll show you exactly what the email is going to look like before you send it, or the template you create.
The word I heard was template. I like that it's already pre-written, so you can change a couple words.
So I have a question for you guys. Earlier on, we were talking about, we haven't gone into how to move up the ranks yet, but we talked about testing, getting a product on there, a product or two, testing it out, seeing what's going on. But we've also heard you guys mention sales velocity. And at what point does that become a concern? If you test out the products in the beginning, does that mess with the sales velocity, or is that just once you know what you're doing, you have certain techniques you apply for this velocity? Because these people are, they already have an Ecwid store, and they're now trying to decide, should I go do this Amazon thing? I like what Jesse's talking about. I like what Robbie and Hanson are talking about. It sounds like there's a big marketplace there, of which we all know. We've all heard that name before. So two things. Does that mess with the sales velocity, and does that matter if it does? Can you fix it later?
Yeah, so this is one of the biggest challenge is how do you get your product to top, right? And there's a thing that Amazon calls the A9 algorithm, which, has different metrics where they look at to see, how they determine, where your product is ranked. So sales velocity is definitely one of the biggest things. Like, of course, the more volume you sell, the more that Amazon says, hey, this product is legit, right? People are buying it. We should move it up. It becomes more popular, right? Now, recently in the last few years, there was a lot of different ways you can do it. A lot of black hat stuff, people paying people like outside of different, like India, different countries to buy the product with fake accounts just to kind of artificially boost the product up. Some people use launch services where they'll give like a heavy discount, and that way it can basically you're just kind of giving away a product for at cost or even lower just to get that sales velocity up. Some people use friends and families members to buy their products. There's a lot of different ways. It's gotten a lot more challenging recently because Amazon has really cracked down on especially all the black hat stuff. They can track to see where these sales are coming from, who's buying it. Are they your friends? Is it your family? Right? And if they catch you doing that, they'll shut you down. So yeah, so it's becoming more and more difficult to get that initial sales velocity. Yeah, there's a lot of there's other softwares out there that can help you. There's software that can help you basically give out your product for free, and that way you're just giving it out, right? And you're not asking for reviews, which is not against terms of service. So, there's nothing wrong with giving away your product for free. The only problem is, you need to have a pretty deep wallet. Right?
The problem is you gave away your product for free.
Well, and
there's your problem.
Yeah.
It's interesting you're bringing that up.
So it takes a little bit of market research, and that's why the market research initially is very important, right? Because you got to see who your competitors are, right? Are you competing with someone with 10,000 reviews already, right? Are you even going to catch up to them, right? How much money is it going to cost you to get there? Right. If you find a niche product or a niche category where, like, let's say there's only one or two competitors, then it's like, hey, you can there's a lot of tools out there that can kind of tell you like what's the general, how many sales are they getting a week, and then you can crunch some numbers to see if it makes sense, right? And maybe different categories have different sales velocities. So if you're selling like cell phone cases, you might need to sell like tens and thousands to get to page one. But let's say you're selling like a ceramic bowl or something, right? Maybe you only need 100 sales, right? So every category has a different algorithm to get to the top. So it takes, you just need to do some research to figure out what's the right product to sell and how much money it's going to take to get there.
Hey, Rich, so to jump on that question that you asked, so I was reading this article and it was talking about Amazon and obviously the products being sold on it. And one of the things that brought up, and I found this really interesting, was that let's say you get your product on there and you have 0 reviews, okay? Product reviews. Nobody's reviewed your product, you just got it going. But if you could get even just one product reviews, one person to go and write a positive 4 or 5 star product review, it will increase your sales by 10% over a person that has 0 product reviews.
So one
that's just
review. You got to get
one
one.
review.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is interesting because you guys. So I apologize for jumping in, but this goes hand in hand with what you guys were just talking about a second ago when I first asked the question. So you mentioned the giving away one. So if one SKU gets this velocity, say you gave away something, but you have a higher end SKU on the back end, and you just hope that they like it enough, and maybe it works with that other product or something. Who knows that piece? But you almost treat this first product, the lower price product or the free product, as almost like a loss leader. Does that help the ranking of your whole store, or does that only help the ranking of that SKU?
So it's actually just by that SKU. Each product is kind of considered its own individual product, so to speak. So just because, let's say, you sold 10,000 of one and you haven't sold any of another, they're not going to be like, oh, well, he sold 10,000 of this one item, so let's move his other items up the list. It is item by item specific. So you definitely need to be concentrating on each item that you're selling on there and trying to get product reviews on every single item that you're selling to increase those sales and increase that sales volume.
That makes sense.
That's good to know. Now,
because I've never searched by I'm going to look for a certain store. I've always just looked for a product in Amazon.
Right. And actually, I think about 2 years ago, Amazon has launched their own PPC. So now you could actually pay Amazon to get your product to the top. So let's say you have a brand new product you just launched. Let's say you got a couple reviews, right? The first few reviews are crucial. You need to get I would say 5 to 7 reviews just off the bat when you launch a new product. Try to find someone that's not related to you, maybe some distant friend or something,
maybe somebody that does a podcast with you. I'm not saying I've ever done this before. Yeah. Amazon, if you're listening.
Somehow that Amazon can't connect with you, right? Get those 5 to 7 reviews, right?
Yep.
And then you might want to start looking into maybe running a little bit of PPC where let's say you'll pay $3 or $2 a click, right? And then what happens is when someone searches the keyword of your product, now if you look at Amazon right now, sometimes when you search products, they're not all the products are just products that you search for. Some of them are paid for, right? And that's when you'll get the exposure on page 1 or page 2, from Amazon directly. And, that way you're going to get some customers buy your product. And then if they like your product, then they might start leaving you reviews, right? So you got to do a little bit of everything to try to get your product to the top. It's not just through one mechanism.
Yeah, you could see that would be a good way to probably prime the pump, right? Like you get started, do a little bit of PPC.
You got a friend or family that needs to review. Yeah.
Now you can maybe cut back a little. I mean, who knows? You have to check it out individually. Like you said, all the algorithms are different for each category. But
so, guys, I got a question on, and it's probably personal to me. So if you sold, the average customer sells 100 items, the same SKU on Amazon, how many reviews should they expect out of 100? Like, what's the percentage of people that should leave a review?
That's a really good question, and a lot of people ask us. And based on some of the research that we've seen in the last few years, usually it's somewhere around 2%. If you're lucky, you can get 2%. So 2 out of 100 orders, people are going to leave you a review.
And that's 2 out of 100 if you basically do nothing, right? Like
if you do nothing, yes.
Yeah. And that's 2 out of 100, and it could be negative.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be right. That's I'm sure that's including both positive and negative in that.
Yeah, and it's actually worse because people are more inclined to leave negative reviews than positive, because that's what kind of drives some people to leave a review, is because they had a negative experience. So that's why it's really important to have these follow-up email sequences go out to your customers as soon as your order goes out, to try to prevent those negative reviews. And if you have a good sequence go out after the product's been delivered, it's going to get more reviews. And we've seen customers go from 2% to 8 to 10%. If you can get to 8 to 10%, you're doing really, really well. And the more positive reviews you get, it's going to squash those negative reviews down, right? And once you get to 100 or 200 reviews, those negative reviews are going to have less and less weight. So the idea is to try to get as many positive reviews as you can.
Yeah, and I could see how this automated way of doing it could really be helpful, because it's this customer journey, and they just bought something and they're excited. So let's forget the supplement for a second, because we obviously would wait on that. I totally understand why you would want to wait on something that's probably not going to feel the results for 30 days or something. But almost every other thing, the faster you could get something out to them, maybe even before. Is there anything that you guys shoot out that, hey, thanks for buying it, it's not really asking for a review yet because you know it's not there yet, just to kind of keep them excited and to keep them excited with your brand?
Yeah, Rich. So, I mean, that varies on the seller. So, the seller can set up the different templates and when they want to send them out. So, I mean, we have kind of rules of thumb to follow, but that's up to them, because like you said, each product is different. I like to actually use like exercise equipment as a good example instead of like supplements, right? So it may be one of those things that if you sell them a piece of exercise equipment, yeah, they might use it within the first couple of days. It may take a week before they use it. And they'll start using it. They're going to know pretty quickly whether they like it or not as soon as they start using it. But it may take them a few days of using it to really get a true kind of feel for it, right? So maybe the first day they're like, oh, my arms are burning from using this thing. But really it was just their arms were going to burn no matter what they used. And then like 3 or 4 days after that wore off and they're like, oh, this piece of equipment to exercise with is really good. So you got to kind of understand your space and what you're selling to kind of understand where is that kind of sweet spot to hit them up, and obviously anything that tells them that, hey, right, thank you for placing your order, or here's the next email a day later. Hey, we've shipped your order. Thanks again for placing the order. Just to keep them in the process of, you're in constant contact with them to say, hey, I'm here. We're here to help you. Thanks for ordering. Here, it's on the way. I noticed you got it. If you like it, go ahead and send it back. So, or I'm sorry, if you had an issue, let me know, is what I meant to say.
That you perfectly. It was almost as if we talked about this and we didn't. So do you get some sort of trigger in Feedback Wiz that it's been delivered?
Yeah, we do. So the way that all these third-party softwares work with Amazon is we get data from the API from Amazon, which they send us information like the buyer's information, when the order has been shipped, when it's going to be delivered, tracking numbers, names, their phone number or their address. So we have all that data. And what we do is we take that data and help you set up triggers. So you can set up a trigger right when the product's been, shipped, and then the trigger when it's been delivered. You can even have one go out if it's been returned. Let's say they left you a positive feedback and they didn't leave you a product review. Then maybe those are the guys you want to ask for a review because they already left you a positive. So there's seller feedback and there's product reviews. And for the people that aren't selling on Amazon, it's another way for the buyer to leave you a feedback based on the experience on the package when it comes to your door. Like, did it come on time? Was it packaged well? Right. So it's a different mechanism, but you can set up different triggers like that to send out. One thing Amazon is trying to kind of cut down on recently is trying to get sellers not to send out too many emails because, people do get annoyed. A lot of sellers don't realize like they want to get as many reviews as they want. So they try to spam these buyers with multiple emails or different messages. And, a lot of buyers just get annoyed and, some of them opt out. So the idea is to try to not send too many emails. I mean, maybe sending 3 emails is the maximum you want to send, right? Maybe one when it ships, and then one after it's been delivered asking for review, and then maybe one reminder after a few weeks, something like that. And if they don't respond to that, then, the best thing might be just to move on, and then hopefully you can get another buyer to leave your review instead.
So can you just communicate with them without asking for a review? Let's say 6 months down the road, hey, how's everything been with your new workout equipment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can always communicate with them anytime you want.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's good. And I think part of that is, of course, you want to ask for a review, hoping that it's positive, even though you can't use that word. But I think part of the idea might be if somebody has an issue, before they leave a 1-star review, you want to know about it, right? That's got to be part of the trick here, right?
Exactly, yeah. So that's when the first email goes out. And what we usually like to do is to send them some information about the product. Like, let's say, like Rob used the treadmill, right? This is how you assemble the treadmill, right? And these are 5 tips on how to keep your treadmill running for years and years, right? And then that's something that they want to read about, right? And then after they read about it, then you have a link that says, hey, once you guys get your product, if there's anything wrong with the packaging or if your product's damaged, please contact us before, you take any actions. Yeah. So just keep it simple, right? Just please contact us. Just have a link there so they know that, hey, in the back of their mind, they know if something happens, I know how to communicate with the seller. So.
Yeah. So, that's got to prevent somebody from, all right, this was broken, I'm going to leave a 1 star, right? Well, maybe it got broken during shipping and that 1 star really wasn't deserved by the company, by you, so you can send a replacement or do whatever you can to avoid that 1 star review.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Jess, because I put some years in on this planet, and I can tell you, in my experience, I've almost have a better relationship with businesses where something went awry, not necessarily catastrophe, but something went awry and they fixed it. And then I was able to kind of look at them like, oh, they back their products up. They listen to me. They care about what I'm going through. And I sometimes have a better relationship with someone that I had an issue with and then they fix that issue than just never having an issue because you have no attachment, So
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah. So, Rich, what you were just talking about, we talked about earlier, we kept saying building a brand. What you just described, some people might say, well, that's just good customer service. Well, that's actually building a brand.
Oh, for sure. Right?
Good customer service is building a brand, and having somebody having a positive experience with your product, that's part of building a brand. So if anybody was a little stumped on what we kind of meant by building a brand, Rich just described part of the process right there of building a brand.
Yeah.
So sell good products, don't sell a bunch of crap, deliver it, answer when people have a problem. These are just
Knock
basic 101. Yeah.
Wow, this sounds just like old school.
Yeah.
We are old school.
But automated.
Yeah.
Yeah, automate it. Just make it easier, right? You just, the one thing one thing I always remember from running my e-commerce business was, as a store owner, I just want to concentrate on making money, right? Finding products, making money. So anytime I could find a tool or a service that could turn around and automate everything not everything, but certain parts of my business that allowed me to just go back on concentrating, making money and finding products to make money with, man, that was a winner to me.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And the reason I was asking about the percentage is I've probably sold 100 products on Amazon. And if I don't include somebody that wrote a review sitting next to me, I got 1 other review.
Should I have muted my Alexa before we started?
Yeah. Alexa's listening. But yeah, I got 1 review.
Alexa, look up Feedback Wiz.
But yeah, had I known about you guys earlier, I set up this automation, and instead of getting 1 review, maybe I'm getting 8 reviews, right, on that product, and I'd be selling more, and I'd have my Mai Tais and sitting on the hammock on the beach. But I didn't do that.
Sounds like we need to get Jesse on our free 30-day trial here.
I like it. Where would I go for this free trial, Robbie?
Yeah, perfect time.
You could go to feedbackwiz.com. That's FEEDBACKWHIZ. That's WHIZ. That was. You got that right? .com.
Yep, and we will definitely include other show notes. Awesome.
I'm sure. Have it in the show notes. Have a link.
I got it. Awesome. So, Robbie Henson, great having you on the show, learning about Amazon secrets here and learning about how we can automate our process for feedbacks. Richard, what do you think? Any last thoughts here?
I'm ready to get on there and start playing with it. I love the sound of this.
Yeah.
This is good. I love the idea of being able to add GIFs and all these other things. This is anything you can do to keep it playful and lively and, something that stands out. I'm in.
Yeah. Awesome tool, guys. Pleasure having you on the show. Hope we can learn more from you in the future. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
Take care. Have a great weekend.
Well, Rich, there's another great show.
And when you add it all together with the other shows, you won't miss any strategies or new tactics on how to grow your online business.
So to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe on your favorite podcast player. Rich, what player do you like?
Probably Stitcher.
All right.
How about you?
I'm an Apple podcast guy. I'm an Apple guy on that.
Yeah.
And we're growing right now. A listener asked us to add Google Play as a platform. So we just added that a couple weeks ago. We have Spotify, SoundCloud.
Nice. We're everywhere.
So subscribe on your favorite platform, and don't forget to rate and review us.
So we know what you think.
Yeah, rate how we're doing, review on what we have done, tell us topics you'd like us to cover, tell us if you think we're great and you are going to take over the world.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
It's the only way we'll know, and it keeps the shows coming. Thanks, everybody.